Guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between, and before I get started, at the end of the video, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week, so in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured on the episode. Let's get started. I had another bigger haul this week with 15 books, and number 15 for me is The Infinity Watch issue 1. Not a bad book. Honestly, there wasn't any books that I disliked this week. This is more that I haven't been following these characters. I haven't been really following this side of the Marvel Universe for a while. So I just didn't feel like I could personally get into it. But I feel like the issue did a good enough job to try to be new reader friendly. The end has a pretty shocking ending with Colleen Wing possibly dying. So I was like, oh, I don't know how to feel about that as one of the only Marvel characters here that I feel like was more of a name, especially because of the Netflix show. So I didn't know how to feel about that one, but I think if you enjoy the side of Marvel, not a bad issue, just not my bag. So overall, giving that one 2.5 stars, and that's number 15. Moving on to number 14, which is Batman Santa Claus Silent Night issue 3. A more forgettable run, in my opinion. I thought the first one did a much better job at being a little bit more character-driven. This is more about the fun adventure of the DC Universe teaming up with Santa Claus, and here are some maybe mythological characters that come along the way. I do think the artwork is really solid, though, especially for a weekly series. I want to see it through, but I do think that first volume was a lot stronger. Moving on to number 13, which is Powerpuff Girls, the Winter Showdown. This is their winter special. I think they have a couple of specials coming up. And again, it's just kind of fun, all ages shenanigans here. Get to see the Powerpuff Girls kind of go on their own adventures as they try to find a present for the professor. And you get a couple of villains that show up along the way. And then, of course, in the end, they give him the perfect gift. So is it the most memorable Powerpuff Girls issue? No, I think some of the previous issues have done a little bit better of a job with trying to tell something new, but also catering to the old audience. But overall, it's a fun enough time with solid artwork if you're looking for a good palette cleanser for your pull list for this week. So giving that one 3 stars, and that is number 12. That was number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is Black Lightning issue 2. This did go down a little bit for me. Not focusing as much on Black Lightning and focusing more on his daughter. I really liked the gray shadings of the relationship. I think that's the thing I enjoyed the most with this issue. It got a little repetitive as the issue went on because you don't actually get to see them interact that much. But you see where Anissa got to this point. Her feeling like she is in the shadow of her father puts a lot of pressure on her, and I thought that was super interesting. I want to see where it goes. Again, I think that first issue balanced things a little bit better, but I still like this world a lot, and I like these characters. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 12. Moving on to number 11, which is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 63. A little higher than this book has been. It's very much same old, same old. It's not doing anything new by any means. Honestly, I think it's an issue that's really safe, where we get to see Peter have girlfriend issues. He's trying to balance it all, and that's really the whole issue. Honestly, more than the mythological side. And I like that a little bit more than the death of Spider-Man side of stuff, because I feel like that side of things hasn't been saying as much as I think it's promised to be saying. And I really like the Black Cat scene. I think the last issue we had it more of like their romance, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird because Peter is in a relationship with somebody already, so I didn't really love the love triangle there. But here, I think they did a good job of Black Cat just being there as a friend and having a pretty good conversation with Peter. A person that you usually don't get to see that type of conversation with Peter. So I enjoyed that. The artwork is solid enough, but again, it's not reinventing the wheel by any means, which I am kind of bored that Amazing Spider-Man hasn't really been doing anything to kind of push the envelope for a while. So giving that one 3 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, another book that's kind of doing the same thing, but it's fun enough, and that's Dazzler issue 4. It's the last issue, but it looks like April, we're probably going to get another miniseries from Dazzler. If you're a fan of Dazzler, you're going to have a fun time with this. It's literally what we've seen with the character before. She has a concert. Some people like her, some people don't. Villainy ensues during the concert, and Dazzler is like, do you like me? Sorry, I kind of put you in danger. And that's the whole issue. There's nothing much else to this, but I'm hoping with another volume there'll be another adventure and maybe a little bit more growth for the character as well. But if you're just looking for a fun Again, old school adventure with Dazzler, that's what you're getting here with solid artwork and a good time. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 9. That was number 10. Moving on to number 9, which is Laura Kinney, Wolverine issue 1. I like the potential of where this is going. I enjoy Laura's voice a lot here. The other characters that are introduced here, like there's this villain, not this villain, this new mutant that's introduced that feels like it's just being introduced to be a new character than actually having to be part of the plot. But this honestly is more of a one-off because it looks like the next arc is actually going to be her teaming up with Elektra, which makes sense because Erica Schultz is writing this series and Elektra. And I want to see what that team up looks like. I don't know why they would team up. So I want to see, again, what their interactions would be like. So curious about that one. Not a bad issue. Again, I think it's Laura. We get to see an interpersonal story with her, but also, again, I just want a little bit more from her as well. So giving that one 3 stars, and that was number 9. So moving on to number 8, the topic of the video, and that's Ultimate Universe, 1 year in, issue 1. This did something that I'm glad they didn't go the easy route. So the easy route would be, let's rehash everything that's happened in the Ultimate Universe, here's a teaser. So for you Spec buyers, yes, this is a Spec book for a few reasons, but mostly it's because of Wolverine's appearance. Ultimate Wolverine might be a really big character. We genuinely don't know. So if you get his first appearance, it could go up in price. But that's always what's hard with Spec books. You can only guess it's going to be a big character. So you buy it just in case, right? So in that circumstance, yeah, it's his first full appearance. If he's a big character, this will be worth something. But as an issue, I liked it because we get to see a bit more from Nick Fury. You do get some introduction to him, and that's something I thought was very interesting. You get this death of this version of Nick Fury, but the maker has all these other versions of him. But I'll also say it depends on where of the Ultimate Universe you've been enjoying. This is not for everybody, honestly. And for me, I'm only really enjoying Ultimate Spider-Man. That's the book I've been picking up. I'm not a huge fan of the Ultimates. I feel like it's dense like this is, it's not the stuff that I normally like. And then Ultimate X-Men is very completely different. That's more of this manga style book. And then I don't really know what's been going on in Ultimate Black Panther, but they all feel very disjointed. And I don't think this book does a job where it's like, well, they're all connected. Not really. I think Ultimate Spider-Man at least has talked about the maker, and I'm sure will play a bigger part as the series goes on. But this is definitely more of a book for fans of the Ultimates. So if you've been reading that, you should and definitely pick this up. This is actually a pretty important issue. If you're reading Ultimate Spider-Man, if you're reading Ultimate X-Men, you necessarily don't need to pick this one up. And for the Ultimate Wolverine fans, it really is just an appearance. There's maybe a little information that he's the Winter Soldier character, which I'm pretty sure the teaser had already revealed. So there's not much to be had with the Wolverine side of stuff. So overall, giving it 3.5 stars. I liked it enough. I'm glad I picked it up, but it also is catered for a certain fan. Moving on to number 7, which is Green Lantern issue 18. This is your old school Jeff Johns style book, and this is more of the action side, the mythos side, where you kind of have to put some pieces together to get characters into different segments, right? Carol's dealing with being a Star Sapphire and being the only Star Sapphire. We have Kyle as the White Lantern. We have all these lanterns coming together to fight the threat, and then now by the end, they all kind of go into different sides. I think there's another one shot. I don't know if it's a series or not, but I know there's a core series coming out, so maybe it's related to that, but it's the Fractured Spectrum. So we have that series coming out. Obviously, we have Green Lantern continuing. There is a core series coming out as well, so there's going to be a lot of continuations for different Green Lanterns. I think that's the hardship with this issue, is that it is biting off a lot. So you get maybe 3 pages with Carol. You get 3 pages with Kyle. So you can't explore those stories as much in this issue, but I think it is a setup for other stories to do so, depending on who your favorite Lantern is. So overall, giving this one 3.5 stars. Again, I think it's just very reminiscent to the early 2000s Green Lantern, which is the best Green Lantern in my opinion. So that is number 7 for me. Moving on to number 6, which is The Incredible Hulk issue 20. I'm really glad this got higher, because honestly, this issue was the make it or break it for me. I was going to drop this or not drop it. And I think this at least went into its horror roots a little bit more, where we get to see Charlie is a monster now. We got these other monsters there. They're going to fight him. I don't love that the Hulk and Charlie are separated again. That's not my favorite thing, but I like the horror roots, like I said. I like seeing Charlie in a new position, and it gave me enough to continue and see where this is going. So overall, giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is the Uncanny X-Men issue 7. And this is a continuation of the Road of Graymalkin, which honestly I think has been pretty solid. I actually think it's been a great way to intertwine these stories and make them feel more connected. It's a great way to even explore some of these characters a bit more. I think they've done a really good job with Becca, especially, to kind of get into her character. She's probably the thing I enjoyed the most here. But as someone who's been enjoying Uncanny X-Men more, I find myself enjoying that side of the story more, right? Like, when Jubilee shows up, I'm like, cool, that's the side I like. And when Cyclops shows up, I'm like, oh, that's kind of the more boring side for me. So I think it also depends on what you've been liking. If you've liked both series, you're going to get a lot from this. If you've only liked one side, I think that's a little bit of a hardship. But I've been liking it. It's kind of... I like that it's also kind of a smaller crossover. There's nothing like huge, crazy going on. It's just like, here's this fun adventure. You get these two teams together. Not too big of a deal, but you're going to get a lot of character moments. And Dave Marquez artwork, obviously, is a pleasure to always see. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 1. And this is a weird one because we don't know much about this series. I don't even know if there's a release date for this series. It's a prequel to the series that also references episode 1 of a show that's not out yet. But I also like it as kind of a teaser. Like, I don't know much about the show, so I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm getting little pieces of what's gonna happen. But I definitely think this is maybe a better book if you wait a little bit, maybe wait for trade, because I do think you're gonna get a little bit more out of it if you watch the show. Yeah, as a Spider-Man fan who doesn't want to wait, I liked it. I thought the artwork was really clean, has that cartoony look. Nico's in it. I'm a huge Runaways fan, so I want to see what they do with her. And then the rest is kind of what we've seen from Spider-Man before. He's trying to be Spider-Man. This is like his early days. He's in high school. They always change the Midtown High aspect, so I think this is more leaning towards the MCU science factor of it all. Again, Nico's here instead of, another character that's usually with Spider-Man, like, MJ and characters that you've seen in the MCU. So you're not really getting those supporting characters, and again, you might have hints of different heroes showing up because Nico does have the magic side of stuff. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I liked it enough, and we'll see what happens with issue 2. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is X Factor issue 5. I really like this book a lot. Honestly, it kind of hit me when I was reading this issue in particular. It feels like a more political Suicide Squad. And if you enjoy the commentary of what's been going on with the mutants and other series, I think this book does a really good job at having a commentary about the politics of that, all while telling this kind of crazy tale with characters you shouldn't feel attached to. Like, there's these two characters that are making out the whole issue. You're like, okay, you're just kind of setting up this romance story. And then one of them dies in the end. You're like, whoa. And they set it up last issue too, where you really get the rug pulled under you a lot, which I like about this book. All while you do get kind of the deeper character stories with Polaris and Havoc. And I feel like Havoc's been a really good lead. Bob Quinn is doing amazing artwork for this. So if you're looking for a comedic, action-y, character-driven series, this is the one for you. I feel like this is the under-the-radar X-Men book right now. So giving that one 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Minor Arcana issue 4. Speaking of under the radar, I don't feel like enough people have been talking about this series. It's about this girl who's very hesitant about everything. She's definitely in a crossroads in her life right now, where we get to see she's dealing with her mom that she doesn't have a good relationship with, but her mom is dying, and then she doesn't really love this town, but she's kind of stuck in it. She doesn't love her powers, but it's kind of thrusted upon her. And I really liked how Jeff Lemire makes the town just as much a character as her and her mom, and you get to gradually learn a little bit more about the members of the town, so they also kind of become good supporting characters. I'm really enjoying this. I think it's Jeff Lemire at his best, kind of small town, mystical fantasy thing going on in the backgrounds. I'm really enjoying it and giving that one 4 stars. That is number 2 for me. Moving on to number 1, which is Superwoman Special, issue 1. I love this book. I love everything that's been going on in Superman, and I think Joshua Williamson is just killing it. And what I like about this book is that I think it's nostalgic, I think it's fun, but it also progresses the story. So with this one, At first, you just find out that Lois gets her powers through the suit. It's absolute power, and you're like, okay, that's kind of an easy answer. And then throughout, she's talking about, oh, I've had writer's block, and she has this really, really fun interaction between Kara and Lana Lang. And obviously, they're both super people right now. And they have a really just fun, like, girls' night. And I really love their characterization and their back and forth of this issue. Because I don't feel like you just get enough of just heroes getting to talk to each other and having like a cup of coffee situation, which literally happens. They have a cup of coffee in Paris in this. And we get to see, how did Lois become this? How does she feel about being a hero? And then it hits you in the end that she's not just a superhero with Clark's powers. She has Zod's powers. So you're like, whoa, that's gonna put in a big wrench. You're really doing a great job with Superman's villains and making everyone feel like individuals and having more complex stories and not regurgitating storylines. And I just think this issue did a really great job at that. So honestly, I just thought it was a really well balanced issue. There are two different artists, so that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine when you have a longer book and you have different styles. But honestly, that's really the only nitpick I have about this issue. And artwork is still really, really solid, and I think does work for this book, even if there are two separate artists. So overall, giving that one 4.5 stars. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite books of the week were. And last week's pick of the week was The Ultimates, issue 7. And here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one.